around Paradise, a Northeast Washington, D.C. neighborhood. As we mentioned in the previous video we did last week, the same neighborhood, two teenagers had lost their life on spring break, headed to a food truck to get food in front of a local convenience store.
Police
have now identified the two juveniles shot and killed in a hail of bullets outside of a Northeast convenience store.
And the city is now offering a $50,000 reward as investigators search for the killers. Fox 5's Bob Barnard is live where the shooting happened with the very latest. Bob?
Yeah, Shamari and Angie, at this time yesterday, this convenience store parking lot was full of police officers, a terrible crime scene. D.C. police today are telling us that despite the fact that there are a number of security cameras on the outside of this building, they were not working. So police do not have video of the shooting or suspects. The young victims were 14-year-old Tyale Coates and 12-year-old Milo Young. Tyale died here at the scene. Milo was rushed to the hospital, but he did not survive his wounds. This happened around 3:30 p.m. Tuesday. MPD says the two victims were in a larger group of young people in the parking lot outside the Circle 7 convenience store here. Police believe the group was targeted, but not necessarily the boys who were killed. Although dozens of shots were fired, nobody else was struck or wounded by the gunfire. Police believe there were two gunmen, but more people with them, so others could be implicated in this case. The gunmen were on foot when they opened fire, but likely fled the scene in cars. People in the surrounding neighborhoods where the boys lived are understandably upset.
It was like pow, 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 pow. It went off for a couple of minutes.
That's insane. That's insane. 60 shots for two kids. That's insane.
When you hear two young people lost their lives.
I'm so sorry for their mothers. You know what I'm saying? I'm so sorry for their mothers.
I lost a son, so I already know how that feels to lose a child. So, yeah, prayers to the family, man. That's it.
Police have been back here at the scene today. They are looking for witnesses, including anybody who may have seen something while driving past the crime scene on I-295. Again, this was at 3:30 Tuesday afternoon. The city is offering a $50,000 reward for information, $25,000 for each of the two victims, for information that leads to arrest.
As we continue this video, we do want to take the moment and say once again, rest in peace to the teenagers, man, and love and condolences to the families. Now, months before that situation, young Slime had allegedly got released from jail. It was an armed robbery and burglary case out of 2046 Fort Davis Street in Southeast Washington, D.C. Police say the robbery happened on March 12, 2025, as Akeem Bryan was later arrested June 26, 2025. The main accusation is that Bryan, identified in the paperwork as respondent ZB/Young Slime, and another person identified as the Sheriff Frankie, allegedly robbed one complainant at gunpoint, took his black North Face jacket, then broke into an apartment and stole designer items, including handbags and a safe with $5,200 cash in it. Went on to say two complainants shared an apartment. Complainant 1 came home from work and saw two young men outside talking to complainant 2. Complainant 1 said he recognized them from the neighborhood and knew they were associates with a girl named Zoe, who allegedly lived on 2044 Fort Davis Street, Southeast, in the 200s apartments. When complainant 1 went inside the apartment, it was in disarray. He said that's when he realized items were missing, including designer jackets, designer handbags, and the safe with $5,200. At first, complainant 2 was hesitant. He told detectives he was robbed by two suspects for his North Face jacket. He said both had guns and gave them the nicknames Young Slime and Drizzy. He also said the same people who robbed him were from the same people who broke into the apartment and stole money from other property. But detectives later talked to him on March 26, 2025, and complainant 2 gave much more detailed statement. He said he known the suspects for almost 6 months, saw them weekly, smoked weed with them, played games with them, and had been inside an apartment where the suspects had a large number of guns. That part mattered because it shows this wasn't described as a robbery by strangers. According to witnesses, these were people he already knew and had been around. Now, complainant 2 said he had bought a Glock 17 from the suspects a couple days ago before the robbery. He also said he had that gun on him inside his jacket at the time of the robbery. But that made the North Face jacket more important. According to the affidavit, when the suspects took the jacket, they weren't just taking clothing. They may have also took the gun that was inside of it. Complainant 2 identified the suspects through Instagram. He identified Akeem Bryan as Young Slime with Instagram profile 666Slime00. He identified the other person as Dashir, as Frankie, with the Instagram profile one Frankie ate. So the case is built mainly on witness identification, social media identification, and surveillance. Now, complainant 2 said he had gone to the bank earlier and returned while driving a friend's motorbike. He let Dashir ride the motorbike before the robbery. The complainant 2 said he, Brian, and Dashir were outside with complainant 1, arrived by Uber, and walked past them into the building. Once complainant 1 went inside, complainant 2 said Brian and Dashir demanded his property by showing a handgun. He specifically said he saw the grip of a magazine of the handgun in Brian's hand while Brian kept it inside his pocket. The documents say surveillance captured Brian carrying complainant's 2 jacket to a vehicle. That vehicle is described as the suspect vehicle, and complainant 2 said it belonged to Brian and was routinely used by him. Then Brian is allegedly seen entering the vehicle and driving towards Dashir and complainant 2 with the motorbike. According to complainant 2, Brian stopped by the vehicle, told Dashir to get in, and then they fled towards 38th Street Southeast. Complainant 2 said he hid the motorbike in the woods so it wouldn't be found by Brian and Dashir. Now, as mentioned, Young Slime got released June 26, 2025 for that case, just 3 months later, and we now might know why. The feds was allegedly building up another case, because MPD just arrested him almost a year later on May 1st, 2026. Now, according to Zakeem Bryan, aka Young Slime affidavit, he charged with second-degree murder while armed. The victim, DeJuan Simpson, 28 years old. The date of the murder was November 1st, 2024, on the 4400 block of Blaine Street, Northeast Washington, D.C. Multiple gunshot wounds was the cause of death. Police alleged Bryan was one of multiple individuals involved in a targeted shooting that quickly escalated from a street altercation. It happened at around 3:54 a.m. Shot spotter detects gunfire. Police arrived and found the victim unresponsive with multiple gunshot wounds. Police later confirmed he had 5 shots to the chest, 4 shots to the back, 1 hit his liver, 2 went through his heart. They was the fatal shots, and 1 additional shot, more complex path, entered his chest, skin muscle, and exited the side. Re-entered the arm and fractured his arm and exited it again. Members of the homicide branch were summoned to the scene and assumed investigation responsibility. When they got there, they recovered the waistband of the descendant's pants. Was a black Glock 27 handgun, never drawn from his waistband. Multiple shell casings were located within the crime scene. 2 9mm shell casings and 5 40 cal shell casings and 2 projectiles. A black cell phone and 1 black Louis Vuitton sneaker were located near the victim's body. A black cell phone was in the grass in the 4400 block of Blaine Street, Northeast. Homicide detectives interviewed the first responding officer at the scene. According to the report, that officer was already a few blocks away when everything started unfolding. Dispatch comes over the radio. Shot spotters picked up the gunfire near 44th Street, as we mentioned. But then it gets deeper. Apparently, it's something called the Real-Time Crime Center in D.C., because they jumps in and say there's already a man down, and they're sending in real time on city cameras right there on the corner. So now it's just not shots fired. It's already turning into a confirmed shooting victim before police even arrive. The officer pulls up to the scene, and what he sees is exactly what the camera showed. A man laid on the ground, unconscious, unresponsive. And right away, one detail stands out. There's a handgun still sitting in the waistband that's visible, meaning he had a weapon on him the whole time, but never got the chance to use it. For safety, the officer removes the gun and secures it in the cruiser. But that's not all. She also noticed the victim had a knife clip in his front pocket. So you're now looking at someone who was clearly armed, but still end up defenseless in that moment. Now, this is where the case take a turn, because police didn't just rely on the witnesses. They had camera footages. A city crime camera sitting right down the corner of 44th and Blaine actually captured the moments leading up to the shooting. But here's the thing. Investigators believe there were multiple cameras along the discovery, and only one was preserved. What that one camera shows is a group of 5 individuals walking out of a gas station on Bennett Road. Inside that group, suspect 1, 2, and 3 others, later labeled as witnesses, notice one thing: the victim not with them. 2 paths collide. At the same time, the victim is walking towards the same area. He got a multicolored backpack, and he's not alone. He's with another person. So now you got 2 separate groups walking directly towards each other. First sign of trouble. As they get closer, something changes. The reports say suspect 1, attention's locked in on the victim. That's key, because now that doesn't look random. It looked like recognition. They pass, but not for long. The 2 groups briefly pass each other. At first, it looks like nothing, but then one of the individuals from the suspect group, witness 3, turns back and make contact with the victim. Now the victim stops. He turns around, and now there's an interaction happening. The moment everything shifts. While the interaction is going on, suspect 1 turns around too and starts walking back towards them. Now you got the victim, one person engaging him, and the suspects closing back in. The backpack movement. Then the victim takes off his backpack. He swings it around to the front and starts opening it with both hands. And this is a crucial moment because while his hands are occupied, he's vulnerable. At that exact moment, suspect 1 makes a move. The footage shows him reaching under his arm, pulling out a handgun, and stepping directly towards the victim, which can show possible self-defense. And just like that, he raises the weapon and points it directly at the victim's torso. So it may not have been a robbery. He made it saw him reaching in that backpack, and before they could kill him and his friends, he did that first. What that really means, this wasn't random. This looked like recognition or targeting. Suspect 1 noticed victim before contact, turns back intentionally, or possible setup. One person engaged will witness 3, keeps him occupied. Others repositioning. 3, perfect timing. Victim opened the backpack, both hands busy. That's when the gun is drawn. That's tactical timing, not panicking. 4, control of the situation. The suspect surrounded, reapproach. Victim is stationary. Focus shift from conversation to confrontation fast. Now, this is the exact moment everything turns deadly because right after suspect 1 pulls his gun, he's not only the only one armed. The footage shows suspect 2 also pulling out a firearm. This time with his left hand, drawing it from the side of his body as he moves in. And this part is important. The victim immediately drops his backpack and reaches towards his waistband. But according to investigators, it does not appear that he reached for his weapon until after both suspects had already pulled theirs, meaning they claiming he wasn't the aggressor. He reacted after the threat was already there. But footage shows he reached in that backpack. What was in there? It was multiple shooters. Suspect 1 fires. The victim is hit. This at 3:54, and almost instantly, suspect 1 turns and runs from the scene. But it doesn't stop there. As the victim is falling backwards, suspect 2 steps in and begins firing multiple shots, shooting with his left hand, continuing even as the victim is going down. This crucial. This wasn't one shot in panic. This was follow-up shots while the victim was already collapsing. Now, right after the shooting, about 36 later, the cameras pick up something that raises even more questions. The person who was with the victim, witness 8, he comes back, walks right back into the scene and picks up the victim's backpack and then jogs away. Think about that. Gunshots went off, someone was killed, and within seconds, someone returned, not to help, not to check on him, but to grab a bag and leave. That backpack becomes a key piece of missing evidence because if they didn't take the backpack and they shot to prevent Holmes from reaching into the backpack, but the person that died comes back and grabbed the backpack, the gun could have been in there. If I see a crowd, I'm not getting a handgun. If I got a chop in the backpack, I'm getting that first. Now here's where it gets even deeper because police didn't just look at what happened during the shooting. They went back in time. At 3:50 a.m., the group enters the store. Surveillance from inside a business on Bennett Road shows the same group, including suspect 1 and 2, walking into the store minutes before the murder. Masks on, but not the whole time. Both suspects were wearing masks, but not perfectly. At one point, suspect 1 pulls his mask down while talking to the clerk. That moment, that's how investigators get a clear look at his face. Inside the store, suspect 1 casually buys a drink. One of the others, witness 5, gives suspect 2 a hand dap, then hands him a cell phone while on what appears to be a FaceTime call. And that's important because it suggests possible communication with someone else or even someone watching in real time. At 3:52 a.m. they leave. The group walks out back into the parking lot, and just minutes later, gunshots are heard on the same store camera audio. But identifying young Slime, here's where things really start coming together. On December 12, 2024, weeks after the shooting, a detective reviews surveillance footage and bolo alerts, and something clicks. He recognized one of the individuals, the one with the white tank top and black hoodie, as someone known as Young Slime. Real name from prior investigations and social media, police identified him as Akeem Bryant. The second officer confirms. The detectives then show the image to another officer. That officer responds, that look like Young Slime. He provides his real name, names of people he associates with. Connecting the group, those names line up when people seen in the footage, including Suspect 2, one of the witnesses involved in the interaction. Later on, that officer explains that he knows Brian. He says through prior investigations, through activity tied to Paradise neighborhood in Northeast DC, and from personally speaking to him before. So now this isn't just a guess. It's based on prior contact, the house connection. Then investigators connect everything to a specific location, a residence tied to people in the group. Here's where it gets key. Suspect 2 had been arrested at that house just 7 days prior to the murder. And when he was arrested, he was wearing what appears to be the same sweatshirt seen in the shooting footage. The house was located on the 4500 block of Dick Street Northeast. So detectives go to that house and speak to someone connected to it, witness 4. But they don't tell them it's about a murder. They play it smart. They say they're investigating traffic in and outs of their home. At first, witness 4 talk confirms the people arrested, they're our family or closely connected. Then detectives show a photo, a clear image of suspect 1 without a mask. And that's when it gets real. Witness 4 looks at the photo and say, King, not a guess, not hesitation, a name. Then detectives ask, does he have a nickname? And the response, you know his nickname. That's why you asking me. At that point, witness 4 shuts down, stop cooperating. Now investigators, they take it even further. They go online. And what they find strengthens everything. YouTube videos showing Brian, Suspect 2, Witness 3, all together rapping. In one video, the person believed to be Brian literally says, Young Slime in the opening line. Social media posts showing Brian with people tied to the case, posted just weeks after the murder, and even clothing becomes evidence. The jeans in the YouTube video match the exact ripped jeans with red patches seen in surveillance. Now remember the shoe left behind during the shooting? This is where it all comes full circle. DNA testing shows the shoe contains a mixture of DNA from at least 3 people, but suspect 2 cannot be excluded. Statistically, the match is 1 in 17 quadrillion. But this is why I need y'all to lock in, fam, because what we don't know is the key information. 1, the backpack, but also witness 3, which is linked to suspect 1, Young Slime, and also suspect 2. Police records mark 43 shows witness 3 and S2 were recently tied to another shooting. Now this tells us this isn't random people. This connected to crew with prior violence. And also, whoever got hammed up for the shooting we don't know about is probably the one that's also a witness in this case. That's 1. But number 2 is the shoe DNA. That's major evidence. Shoe left at the scene tested. DNA results. Mixture of at least 3 people. Suspect 2 cannot be excluded. 3, left-handed shooter match. Video shows shooter S2 found with left hand. Police check prior arrest. S2 signed paperwork with his left hand. That's behavioral match. Small detail, but powerful in court. 4, clothing match. S2 seen wearing distinct hoodie with large writing. Same clothing seen in surveillance. Seen in prior arrest. Helps visually confirm the identity. 5, witnesses not cooperating. Witness 5 initially refused to talk. Later says was drunk, doesn't remember, and knows W3, but not the others. Likely minimizing involvement. Witness 1, GPS put them at the scene. Amidst being outside that night, refused to identify anyone. Straight up avoid being labeled a witness. 6, the backpack motive clue. From witnesses, victim had large amount of cash, drugs, and backpack left to meet someone after a phone call. Likely what happened? I got good weed. Group teams attend to meet up. He opens the bag. He reached for something. Then shots fired. This is just robbery, drug play gone wrong, or misinterpretation that quickly escalated. 7, backpack gets taken. Witness 8 admits to taking the backpack after the shooting. The person that came with him. None of the suspects. That confirms the backpack had something, which probably includes money/drugs and no firearm. 8 is the Uber tip. Very interesting. Uber driver reports passenger on phone say her boyfriend just committed a murder at a gas station. What? He's feeling heat and might leave town. Driver sees male with dreads waiting at drop off, but address not tied directly to Brian or S2. Still shows word spreading immediately after the murder. Now, the victim background is important context because he's a drug dealer, carried cash weapons, had history of threats, violence, and this helps explain why he was targeted and why the situation escalated fast, with the final conclusion being surveillance, officer identification, witness naming King, social media connections, group affiliations, DNA from the shoe, and behavior left-handed shooting match. In result, they established probable cause that Zakeem Brian, aka Young Slime, is suspect 1 and responsible. And when you really sit back and look at this case, it all happened in seconds. A simple interaction, a few words exchanged, and a backpack opened, and just like that, somebody lost their life. What makes the story even deeper is this wasn't a random situation. It seemed like these were people who was already connected, moving together, knowing each other, and in some cases already tied to violence. Before this night, you got a victim who's known to carry money, drugs, and even a weapon. But in that moment, none of that mattered because timing and who you standing in front of can change everything. And then on the other side, you got suspects who didn't just walk away clean. They left behind evidence. Cameras caught everything and connections that led right back to them. One mistake, like a shoot left behind, can cost your freedom forever. And of course, we'll decide what really happened that night, whether it was a robbery, a misunderstanding, or something deeper. But one thing is clear, a life was lost, multiple lives are now facing prison, and a whole community is left dealing with the aftermath. And the reality in these situations is never just one moment. It's everything that led up to it, everything that comes after, and everything that wasn't explained. Fam, it's time for y'all to let me know how y'all feel about this one in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until then, I'll catch you guys on the next one.
I watch this shit again, man. I listen to this shit again. It's my shit right here. I watched this shit probably 10 times.
Do you work at the present time?
Yes,
What is your job?
homicides and robberies.
Okay.
They're going to kill
Billy,
these other
my
two
wife,
motherfuckers.
And who was that you were gonna kill?
times already.
My mama ex-boyfriend, and you know who she was engaged to, and his son. You know, and he didn't. You know, they wasn't at home, so I couldn't kill them. You know, one of them owed me $8, the other one owed me 10. Or to find him, may never been there. So I sent the girl and her mother. I told them to bring some shit over there. He brought a grenade, a Tech 9, and a 25 automatic.
What does rims and beats do to you?
Make my dick get hard. And I see rims and beats and gold chains and bank rolls.
What's it make you want to do?
Make me want to take these shit.
And if they won't give it up, what do you do?
I kill them.
Detectives say in just 2 months, 5 people were found dead. Same city, same pattern, and the same man responsible. And the crazy part is, he had only been out of jail for just about a year. No co-defendants, no pointing fingers. When it came time to talk, he told on nobody but himself.
You know their last name?
I forgot.
What street were they on that you went looking for them?
Alberta.
Okay, this is before you went looking for Ricky Williams?
Yeah, I just wanted to kill somebody. You know, they paid me most of my money, but they have been spending me about my money for a month.
How many people were with you when you killed Ricky?
Just one.
Are you gonna name that person?
Nope.
And why isn't it you won't name that person?
Because I don't honor no snitch.
So today, fam, we're gonna break down who this man is. Check out this full interrogation and go over the murders while we pay our respects before having a brief conversation with him while incarcerated and let you guys hear it and be a part of it. But before we go over this one, I want you guys to remember, I don't give you no angle. I just give you the story. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're gonna jump right to it. Fam, when it comes to today's sponsor, recently a jury had ordered Meta and YouTube for their role in designing addictive platforms. They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but they did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. The recent historic verdict underscores the consequences of those decisions. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health struggles, you should hear this. Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they cause. You can use the link in the bio or scan the QR code that's on the screen. Take a short quiz to see if you qualify for a case, and if you are, expect to hear from someone. Enough of this. Let's get back to the video. Now, to really understand this story, fam, we gotta go back to St. Louis in the late 90s, a time when the city was still dealing with high crime rates, neighborhoods being hit hard by poverty, and a lot of violence that didn't always make national headlines. This wasn't a place where every case got solved, and in certain parts of the city things could happen, and nobody would say a word. That's the environment this story comes out of. Now, when we talk about this case, a lot of it traced back to the late 90s, right here in St. Louis. This is where Raphael Jackson name first start coming up in connection to multiple homicides across the city. At the time, investigators were trying to piece together a pattern. Different victims, different locations, but according to police, there were similarities they just couldn't ignore. For a while, this wasn't a case with clear answers, but that all changed in the late 1990s and 1999. In 2001, Raphael Jackson took a plea, and that plea would tie him directly to multiple murders, ultimately leading him to being sentenced to 2 life sentences. He agreed to tell on no one but himself, confess to every murder. In return, some might think this is crazy in itself. He just didn't want the chair. Can you believe that? And that's something we're gonna break down. See, Raphael Jackson was facing a possibility of death, but he pled guilty in exchange for a recommendation of 2 consecutive life sentences without parole for 2 murders, a robbery, a kidnapping, and armed criminal action. But in the interrogation you'll later hear from, he confessed to 5 murders in 2 months. Jackson was just 29 years old at the time. He lived on the 2600 block of Tennessee Avenue in St. Louis. He was scheduled to go to trial in the summer of 2021 for the killing of Keith Smith. The state had planned to seek the death penalty, and a plea bargain reached. Instead, Jackson pled guilty to first-degree murder and shooting and agreed to the sentence to life in prison without parole. Jackson is one of 3 men who were accused of wounding a man outside a nightclub in East St. Louis on November 20th, 1999, then abducting 2 other men and shooting them in St. Louis, killing one, which was Smith, 28, of Madison. One co-defendant pled guilty earlier of car theft and got a 3-year prison sentence. The 3rd man charged with murder. In addition to pleading guilty of first-degree murder and Smith's death, Jackson pled guilty of robbery, kidnapping, and armed criminal action. In the case, he faces 15 years in prison or more for each of those crimes. Jackson also pled guilty of first-degree murder for shooting Ricky Williams, 22, of Weston on September 17, 1999. The shooting was over a debt. It happened in St. Louis. Jackson is to get life in prison without parole for that killing too. Assistant Circuit Attorney Mike want Jackson to serve all the sentences consecutively. Circuit Judge Robert S. Dicker has sentenced him on February 23, 2021 to 2 life sentences. Yet another murder case against Jackson has yet to be resolved. He is accused of murdering James M. Boyer, a 30-year-old security guard that was shot at a nightclub on East St. Louis on November 9, 1999. May all 3 victims that we just talked about rest in peace. I love condolences to their families. Now, fam, check out this interrogation in case you didn't. And I expect to see y'all again during that interview. Check it out.
Hello.
And this is Mr. Raphael Jackson seated to my right next to me. Mr. Jackson, I'm going to go over your rights again, okay? You have previously been advised of your rights and signed a rights waiver form, but I am going to advise you of your constitutional rights again at this time. You have a right to remain silent. Do you understand that right?
Yes.
Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand that right?
Yes.
You have the right to a lawyer and to have him present with you while you are being questioned. Do you understand that right?
Yes.
If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning. Do you understand that right?
Yes.
If at any time while being interviewed, should you decide to stop your statement, I will no longer question you and the interview will cease. Do you understand that right?
Yes.
Do you wish to waive or give up these rights and to make a statement at this time?
Yes, as long as the state is not seeking the death penalty.
Okay, so you wish to give up your right to an attorney to make this statement?
Yes.
Okay. Brad?
These rights, I introduce myself to you as Detective Freddie Wills, East St. Louis Police Department. These rights apply to you for the Illinois case that I'm here on. You do understand your rights, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The time now is 7:02 a.m. The date is November 24th, 1999. We are presently at the Police Academy, 315A South Tucker in the television studio. Mr. Jackson, I want you to look at the video equipment and notice the red blinking light.
Yeah.
Okay, that tells us that the video equipment is running. And as long as that light stays blinking, it'll stay running. Okay? For the purpose of the video right now, I'd like for you to state your full name.
Raphael Orlando's Jackson.
Okay. What is your age?
28.
Your date of birth?
6471,
Okay, where were you born?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Are you married or single?
Married.
Your home address?
2629 Tennessee.
Okay. Do you work at the present time?
Yes.
What is your job?
Homicides and robberies.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jackson, previously we have gone over 3 homicides which have occurred. Okay?
Yeah.
One being in St. Louis, one being solely in East St. Louis, and then we had one that started in East St. Louis and ended in St. Louis. Okay?
Yeah.
The one we'd like to start with first is the one that happened in St. Louis, okay, in which a Ricky Williams was killed. Okay, that was back on September 17th at 3137 California. Can you tell us about your involvement in that case?
Yeah. Ricky, I fronted Ricky some dope. You know, me and him was cool. I fronted him approximately 4.4 grams of cocaine, pure cocaine. I told him to bring me $200 back. You know, he can make $500 off of it, both of them together. I told him, please don't accept my shit if he wasn't gonna pay me. And he said he wouldn't even play me like that. He gonna have my money that night, So that night, he still didn't have my money. And I told him, I insisted before I gave my shit, I begged, I said, man, please don't accept my shit, because I got to have all my money. He took my shit, then I ain't see him for 3 or 4 days. When I saw him, he told me he still got it. He ain't been doing nothing. He ain't moved it yet. He gonna take care of me. I told him, man, just give my shit back. I said, because you been starting some shit, just give my shit back. At that time, I could afford to lose the shit. It wasn't no trip, but it was the thing that he just beat me for my shit. Well, I told him, have my money that night. I ain't see him for 2 or 3 days again. I saw him again, I asked him for my money. He said he gonna take care of me that night. He met with me, then he still didn't have. Told me business been slow, he ain't did nothing. So I don't see him. I'm asking everybody how they saw him. Ain't nobody seen him, And I kept, looking for him. And I finally ran into him about 2 weeks later, and he still didn't have my money. He told me to meet him, that night. I tried to meet him that night. He ain't even show up. So that's about the 4th week after I gave my shit. I was riding around, looking for some more motherfuckers that beat me for some money, And he didn't, they wasn't at home, so I couldn't kill them. One of them owed me $8, the other one owed me 10. They wasn't at home, so I couldn't kill them. One of them owed me $8, the other one owed me 10. But they wasn't at home, so I ain't killed them. But being that I was in the killing mood, I decided to look for Ricky, And I found him, me and somebody was with me, I had dropped them off, dropped the guns off, we couldn't find Ricky. Then, as soon as I left there on the way home to go to bed, I synced him, I told him I was gonna front him an ounce of cocaine. I told him just bring me $1,000 back there to give him a chance to make my money and make him some money. He said meet him back there in an hour. I went back to the dude I dropped off, and I picked up, had him to get a couple guns, picked up a couple guns, 38 and a Glock 10. The dude was with me, had the Glock. I had the 38 with 6 shells in it. The Glock had 16. I rolled back around her, Ricky ain't came back yet. We rode around the block a few times, waited around the corner, trying to see if we can see him pass on any street where he be on. And we ain't see him, and I kind of got spooked because it was dark and I kept hearing noises, so I left and drove around, asked some dudes if they saw him. They said, there was car down the street, some dude got smart with me. I started to kill him, but I said, no, I ain't gonna get him. So I went down the street. As soon as I pulled up in front of the house on California where Ricky was at, he had his mama car or something with a little white Cavalier. He came out, I ain't blow the horn, he just walked out. And he came up to the van, and I asked him, I say, I told him, I say, get in so I can give you this dope. I don't want to be out of the middle of the street doing it. I was standing in the middle of the street in a stolen van. He had water in his eye, like he knew I was gonna kill him. So I told him, I say, get in. He said, can't I just give it to him right here? I said, no. I said, get in, cause I don't want nobody to see me give you the dope. And he said, you can just give it to me right here. He said, where you want me to get in at then? I said, go around and get in the side door. And he just stood there, and I see some tears coming from his eye. I said, you want it right here? He said, yeah. And I just reached out and shot him. I think I shot him in the face, and he hit the ground. I just reached out the window and shot the other 5 bullets out there in him. And then the dude was with me, reached over the passenger side with the Glock and just shot about 10 shells out of him, shot him up. Then we pulled off, dropped the hot van off, and jumped in the legit car. And I went to the house, and I ate me something and drank a cup of coffee and went to sleep.
And that's basically it?
Yeah.
Okay.
He ran out. He was snorting heroin. You know, he fucked up my money.
How much money did he owe you?
He owed me $200. I gave him enough dope because he was doing bad. Me and the dude was cool, you know. He was doing bad, so I, was called myself helping him out, and he fucked me out my shit, you know. I gave him some dope to make more money than me. And plus it was almost pure cocaine, you know.
Did you refer to him by a nickname? Do you know him by his nickname?
Yeah.
What's his nickname?
Slick.
Okay. When you say you were in a stolen van, do you remember anything about this stolen van?
Yeah.
Where'd you steal it from?
Stole it out in the county somewhere. I don't remember where I stole it. I stole it from somewhere, I think out there by Lindbergh.
Okay, do you know what kind of van it was?
Yeah, like a utility van.
Okay. But you don't remember exactly where you got it?
No.
Do you remember how long you had it?
That day, I stole it the night before and put it up. Then I went and got it that night to go and kill these other 2 motherfuckers.
And who was that you were going to kill?
My mama ex-boyfriend, and who she was engaged to, and his son.
You know him?
Yeah, Lil Harold and Big Harold.
You know their last name?
I forgot.
What street were they on that you went looking for them?
Alberta.
Okay, this is before you went looking for Ricky Williams?
Yeah, I just wanted to kill somebody. You know, they paid me most of my money, but they have been spending me about my money for a month.
How many people were with you when you killed Ricky?
Just one.
Are you going to name that person?
Nope.
And why isn't it you won't name that person?
Because I don't honor no snitching.
What do you mean by that?
I do not tell on nobody.
Okay. So there's yourself and one other person.
Yeah, John Doe.
Okay. And you won't tell us his name?
Nope.
Okay. And what gun did you have?
I had the 38.
Can you describe the gun?
It's a black steel, 38 special, got detective special on the tip of the barrel, and it had a pearl handle with a chip on the handle.
Okay, where did you get that gun from?
I bought it from a dude that's be selling guns.
Who is he and where did you purchase it at?
I don't know his name. I purchased it through somebody else, somebody's father. You know, he sell a lot of guns.
How much did it cost you?
I paid too much money for it, $135.
Okay. Now, this other person you referred to as John Doe, what kind of gun did they have?
The Glock 10 millimeter Glock.
Okay, whose gun is that?
That's my gun.
That's your gun?
Yeah,
So that 38 and that Glock is both yours?
yeah,
Okay, you just let that person use the gun?
yeah.
Okay, can you describe that gun?
It's a black, was brand new in a box when I got it. A black gun made in like a square gun, automatic, with a hole in the back of the handle.
Where did you get that gun at?
I took it from a motherfucker.
Where was that at?
I ain't gonna say.